Well, we got to turn the music off. Did Tim, you there? All right. Music off, show on the road. Welcome, amazing agents from across the country. Today is Thursday, March 14th, 2019, and this is Mastermind Call number 219. Start off by congratulating Colette Mayers, was our winner of the week. We call it our wow, and she actually wowed us with a great story of two deals she took, and she was particularly complimentary of our ISA callers and the job they were doing. She had shared with us it was so helpful that every time she calls someone back, she's got so much information already. It makes it, much easier to close for an appointment. So thank you and congratulations, Colette. I don't have anything else this week. Tim, what would you like to share with the group?
Actually, I don't have much either. I just kind of walked back in the office, and I just got finished taking my dear sister back to the airport. She's been with us for about 3 months, and she's off back to Illinois now. So that's my big news.
Okay. Chad, what would you like to share?
I don't have anything this week. Let's roll to the lines.
All right, Wednesday. I know we always get asked, do we have a date yet for the next mastery, or is it in the works?
I haven't said it. It'll be near the end of the month because we've been kind of running on that last couple weeks
Okay.
month schedule.
All right, excellent. Tom, anything you'd like to share with the people today?
I think I'm good this week. Let's get rolling.
All right. We are men of few words this week. We're saving all the time for you guys. We have 3 in the queue. We got plenty of room for more, so please hit *6 and hit 1 now. Make sure we get to everybody who would like to participate. And first up this week is a familiar name, phone number starting in 3611. You're up first, Kevin.
Hey, how'd you know it was me?
I know everything. That's how we get our leads. I'm psychic. I just know. Yeah.
Dude, I'm impressed. Okay.
It's actually called caller ID, but thanks.
Oh man, darn it. Okay. So maybe that's a new marketing thing you guys can do, that we can know everything. That's really cool. So yeah, let me just jump in. A couple things I want to share. Kind of a fun thing I'd like to share is I would tell you that I used to be a realtor. Now I'm not only a realtor, but I'm an investor. All right. I went to a local RIA per Chad's request last month. I met a guy there. I was in the middle. I just developed a relationship with an out-of-state PR that really wanted to get a house sold. I basically showed him the property. I put a house under contract. He brought the buyer, and I'm going to make $9,000 on the thing, and it's unbelievable. And we're closed next Wednesday. The same guy at the RIA introduced me to an attorney who helped me get an LLC done and some other contract documents reviewed, which I was informed I really needed to make sure that happened. So I did that, and literally it's been unbelievable. I've never thought I would be an investor. I thought I was just a realtor, but now actually I met with someone today, and they said, you're a real estate expert that specializes in probate. And I said, you're right, I am. So anyway, so that was a huge win. Going to make $9,000 on something that was probably one of the easier things I've ever done in my life. So that's a good thing. The other thing is I've met with some attorneys. I've been meeting with attorneys for a couple weeks, and the very first one off the bat, husband and wife couple that are doing a great job. They just kind of make it pretty personal. And as we were talking, they looked at each other and said, you know what you're doing would work in the guardianship space as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, Chad, have you had other people realize that and do the whole guardianship thing and realize how much value we can bring to the table with those folks?
Yeah, so we don't really teach people to go gather guardianship leads because we don't really condone spending your time in a courthouse as a researcher. But
well, it's
if you
private
remember,
stuff. It's not public record, if I remember right.
Well, in a lot of states it is. So they'd actually do record guardianship. So when you become the legal guardian of somebody and like in a contract capacity, like that's how you validate that, your authority. But anyways, so where we do teach is, if you remember in Master, we talked about, going to nursing homes, family law attorneys, registered investment advisors, senior moving companies, estate sale companies. These are all companies that have contact with families at the beginning of their struggle. So when a health surprise happens and they didn't have a plan for that, a death hasn't occurred and there's nothing on public record, but some things need to change. Some assets need to be liquidated or titled in a different way to qualify for social programs or to just free up cash to get mom and dad into a better living situation. So just the way you're building your attorney network, you should also be, extending that network into those those businesses that service families in the end of life phase. That's the most consistent way to get a steady flow of referrals, and you should know each of those people. So, try to visit a nursing home, and the job titles can vary. Sometimes it's the director of marketing, director of admissions, program coordinator. I've heard a lot of different titles. The person you're looking for is who has the initial consultation with the family. So here's our facility. Here's how much it costs. Let's look at your finances. How do you plan to pay for this? And that's usually the point where most people realize they have to see the sticker shock of $10,000 a month for long-term care. But if they can say, listen, you have assets, it's important we get as much out of those and get those out of your name. So why don't you call Kevin? He's got a team here in town. He can do everything. So we'll put part of your stuff in storage. We'll move the rest here. We'll make sure the rest gets sold for the highest amount of money. Kevin will get the most amount of money out of the home. We'll use that money to pay for your long-term care. And when that runs out, we'll have this social worker set you up for Medicaid payments, and you're set for life. And when a nursing home employee understands that you can pull together that big solution, like that's well outside of their wheelhouse, they're going to react just like the attorneys. They're going to be like, holy crap, you do all this? And you're not really doing much of anything. It's your partner doing all the work. You just get the credit for pulling the solution together and presenting it as a community service. So make as many contacts as you can with those folks. Senior moving companies, it's usually health problems are, where people end up. I mean, sometimes it's just people, the last kid finally moved out at 45 and they're like, okay, we're going to sell this 6-bedroom and get a patio home. But other times it's a health problem forces them to change their situation. So, get to know some of those guys.
Sure. Well, one thing I did last week, actually, I met with one of the senior living places here in town and met with her, and she immediately saw the value and actually mentioned, hey, I'm talking to someone right now who's interviewing us in 2 other homes and 2 other potential facilities, and I'd like to refer you so that you can bring this value to them. So she definitely saw the value and saw, obviously, the bigger picture of what we were doing, so it was kind of cool. So thank you for that great advice. One other thing, too, the attorney, the very first one I met with, brought to the table too, is they said, have you ever heard of a profession or a concept of care managers? And you might have talked about it, Chad, but I don't remember that. And I found out that here in our community, there's a company that started. I went and met with them immediately. I met with them again this morning, and we're looking at doing maybe some co-branding on some workshops and stuff where they're going to talk about all that they do as care managers, from being, a healthcare power of attorney to being an advocate, just all kinds of different resources. And I don't know, is that a big deal nationally, the whole care manager industry? I didn't know about it till the attorney told me about it and found out what a great resource that is.
So I don't know privately if I haven't, so my sister does something very similar, but she works for a large insurance company and essentially does that within the insurance company. So she does home visits, makes sure that the people understand the resources available to them, that they're actually still qualified for the resources they're already receiving, and then reports that back to the insurance company who reports to the government. So she kind of does it in a I guess a quasi-governmental capacity. She's working in the private sector, but a lot of the money is coming from government programs. So she kind of does something like that. I'm not aware of any just strictly, private companies that do that as a service. I haven't seen any, but I'm not pretending to be an expert in healthcare. There's a lot of stuff out there that, it's a massive, complex industry with obviously a ton of money in it. So it probably
and they're
is.
Getting paid.
If it's in your market, it's probably everywhere else too.
Yeah, and they're getting paid a significant hourly rate to basically to be a fiduciary to they're actually even doing mental, what's it called when you're helping them determine if they're, sound mind. they're doing
No
those kinds of
hygiene.
testing. Exactly. They've got nurses on staff, pharmacists to make sure that, the people they're caring for's medications aren't, potentially negatively interacting. So it's a potential resource, I think, that could be maybe valuable, and they see me as a huge resource. And so I don't know. I just think it's pretty cool that care managers seems to be a cool thing too, maybe to explore. But the crazy thing is I start doing what Chad says, and it's amazing what starts happening. So thank you, Chad. I appreciate all your input, man. So thank you.
Well, thank
Kevin,
you
I
for
gotta
your
make
success, man.
I want to make two quick comments. I just feel I don't think I've ever mentioned it before, but one thing that you said. Both my wife and I lost parents last year. She lost her mom, and I lost my dad. And I was absolutely amazed what kind of help there is out there that doctors don't tell you about. We ran into a company called Vitas, V-I-T-A-S, but you don't necessarily have to be on your deathbed, and Medicare will pay for everything. So I recommend them as long as a person is somewhat diminished and needs help. This company came in and they spent 9 months with my dad and almost a year with my wife's mother, and didn't cost a penny. It all came out of Medicare. So there is a lot of help, and I don't know why doctors don't tell people about it, other than I guess it doesn't feed the industry. I don't know if it's out of greed or ignorance, but there is a lot available. One other thing you really reminded me of, Kevin, something you said, and both Chad also alluded to it with all the service providers. One of my original mentors in real estate, Mike Ferry, used to always say, people want to buy, they want to sell. Your job is to get in the middle and then get out of the way. that's kind of what you did. $9,000 is, for basically, you said it was the easiest deal you ever did. You didn't have to list or sell the property or anything. You just got between a buyer and a seller, and you put the deal together, and then you got out of the way. So, great story. Congratulations.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. The percentage that I get paid too is 100%, which is kind of fun. So anyway, yeah. And one just other last quick thing. I don't think I will hopefully take this off the rails very far, but the company that I'm talking about, this care manager, you might check them out. They are looking at maybe doing some other franchises. It's called Purview, Purview Life. Just search them, and it says what they do, and I think it's kind of a cool resource that others might want to check out as a platform maybe. So, all right,
excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate you, and I think you're in first place for the winner of the week. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, Jim. Before you hop off here, a couple of things, sure, that I did some looking around on this, and if you want to go find out what's going on in your local marketplace, go to Google and type in geriatric care management or elder care management, and if you want to get more specific, add medical, and you'll find a bunch of them, and they're usually specific to your location, and there are, in fact, multiple national companies that are doing this and national organizations that are doing it, and it is becoming a growing role, and in particular here in Florida, it's a huge specialty. There was a big article in the Orlando paper a couple of weeks ago about this becoming a huge growth opportunity industry. So you've unearthed a real good opportunity there to find some people to partner with now, and I urge you to go after them.
It's only coming, man. It's just beginning. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Great start to the call. Next up is phone number ending in 1908. You're up next.
Yeah, my name's Steve. I'm from Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm too new to know what buttons I'm pressing. Somebody told me to press some buttons, and I did. And evidently, I'm on the line now.
Well, you're required to give an 8-minute speech, Steve, whenever you press those buttons. So go ahead. No problem. Well, so you didn't actually mean to chime in, but it was good to hear your voice. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
Anything you do need help with?
Well, I talked to someone on the phone a couple of days ago. I'm a brand new realtor. I've been playing with the investor game a little bit, and somehow or another, I don't remember, but I got a hold of this company here, and I was informed that this is a service you provide, something like a direct mail
Mm-hmm.
subscription to learn how to acquire property through probate.
Yes, sir.
And
It sounds like you're not a subscriber then, right? You just were invited to the call.
yeah, and
Okay.
I wanted to listen to this
Sure.
program here to see what other people are doing and how it works, and try to
Sure.
come up with a way to make a decision to subscribe.
Have you spoken to one of our salespeople yet, or not, Steve?
No, everything I've done has been
Okay.
over the internet, email and stuff like that. And I was invited to come to this, just
Awesome.
listen in on this. And so I want to get, a picture of what goes on.
Sure.
So in
Well, Steve,
a
I have
nutshell, every phone
Go
call
ahead.
results in a $9,000 profit, just like you heard Kevin talking about. So would you like to get started now? Sorry,
Hey,
badly
Steve,
timed joke apparently.
Well,
I have a feeling that one of our salespeople will be calling you about 2 minutes after the call's over. So I'll have somebody reach out and kind of walk you through the whole program.
Well, I have another class immediately when this one
Okay.
ends. I do plan on calling back.
Okay, perfect.
Give me a phone number. Give me a phone number so I can call them.
Sure. The direct number is 844-532-3369. And Tim, I think they push 2 for you. You'll get a prompt and just hit the button that says for sales, and you'll get transferred to one of our sales team, and they'll walk you through the whole program.
Okay, so it's 844-532-3369.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks for being here. Next up is phone number ending in 8843. You're up next.
Hey, Jim Brennerty here. First time on the phone call here.
Hey, Jim.
How are you? So I'm looking to get into this business. I'm an ex-contractor who switched into real estate, been in the real estate business about 9 years. So I have a strong background in construction and have a lot of connections in this whole pinwheel you talk about, and just looking to gain more access to this. The one I asked about a couple counties the other day. So the one county I looked into has 150 leads per month, and I guess that's an average number.
Correct.
And what kind of success do you think you get out of something like that?
So it really depends on your
5%.
It's the range is 0 to 70%.
There you go.
I mean, I think across the board, most people who are diligent and don't try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, just like you heard Kevin say in the beginning, like if you trust our system and trust that, we are only giving you stuff that's been proven and is repeatable anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you stick to that, 2% is kind of a minimum. Like you should be able to achieve 2% conversion. Now it might not be in your first month. It might be in your third or fourth. Like it does, there is kind of a ramp up period as with anything in real estate. But you could, with 150 a month, you should be pulling. I mean, you should be pulling at least 3 deals a month out of a market like that after the third month. Okay. Now, if you get out and you get to know all the probate attorneys and the nursing home employees and the care providers like we were just talking about, it just starts to compound. Like you can get more and more. We have customers who get only 25, 35 leads a month that are averaging 6 or 8 deals a month and making over $1 million a year. We also have customers that get 700 leads, never pick up the phone, and waste a bunch of money. So we provide as much support as we possibly can and as much automation to get so you're only doing what you're good at. And if you're diligent and you do that, you're probably going to be somewhere between 2 and 10% as a range you can expect. If you go to alltheleads.com, in the top right of the site header, there's a search bar. And if you just put in ROI, that'll take you to a blog post with an ROI calculator. And you can just plug in some rough numbers there, like what your market median price is, and you can change your conversion rate, and you can actually see your ROI. But most of our folks are getting around a 2,000% return on investment. So they're spending, $1,000, $1,200 a month to put 20, 25, 30 grand back in the bank or into the business.
It makes sense, doesn't it? I was working with I'd call them investors. They were flipping houses for a while that we were pretty good with them. We were doing, 2, 3, 4 deals a month with these guys. I don't know if they burnt themselves out or just ran out of money. I'm not sure which one it was, but they threw a bunch or a few probate lists at me, and we always did well with them. And we always got, 4 or 5 hits off their list, whatever we got with, I don't want to say minimal effort, but it was usually 2 letters, and we didn't even have phone numbers. So there is some gold in them hills.
Absolutely. And Chad, I feel compelled to mention that it doesn't sound like you would do this, Jim, but about a year and a half ago, we got tired of the only reason people were quitting is they wouldn't pick up the phone. So we've even, filled that piece of the puzzle for people. If you don't want to mail, if you're not going to call, we'll do it all for you. Then all you got to do is show up and be good on the appointment. We can't do that for you, but you can automate as much of this process. We can automate as much of it for you as you like.
Well, I'd love to get to that level.
Exactly.
I'd love to have so many appointments I couldn't have time to pick up the phone. So that's the goal.
Sure.
All it takes is
all
a piece
right.
of plastic with 16 numbers on it.
That's it. There you go. All right, I'm working on. I work with a private lender who's probably going to partner up with this, so we're trying to figure out a game plan. But we'll get involved in the near future, though.
Awesome, appreciate it, Jim. Anything else we can help you with?
Something I'll point you to. I mean, with your skill set, like if you've played in the investor space, contractor space, now brokerage, like a lot of the stuff we talk about in Probate Mastery is how you can monetize from all those different directions. For example, like if you send out a letter, you go meet with the seller, you decide to sell it to one of your investors. Even after that sale closes, even after probate closes, you should stick with that person. There's still opportunity that exists that most people don't see. But even after the sale, you take your seller, the PR, turn them into a private money lender with the inheritance money that they just gave, and then you've now capitalized your investors. So you mentioned the investors you worked with that kind of flamed out, they ran out of money. Through probate, you can actually generate private money for your investors to buy houses that you will do the contract work on, eventually list and flip, return the money back at a 10 to 12% APY, and then repeat the cycle. So if, like with your skill set and your network, you can monetize this in a dozen different ways and actually create transactions that the vast majority of people would never even see. So, and that's a big part of what we teach. Like we kind of cross-train everybody. So we're not looking at this like just as a broker or just as an investor. We kind of look at the big picture of, what's the situation and what are all the opportunities in it. So I think that like with your background, there's a lot of stuff that, we can show you how to really monetize this and put your flag in the sand in your market.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. I mean, as soon as I saw this, I just signed up for my Outdesk, and I guess I saw your ad through those guys. And I'm wow, this is a system. And we started a new campaign this year where, I don't know about where you guys are at, if you've heard all the stucco horrors we're dealing with, but stucco is a 4-letter word in our area right now. We're having massive stucco issues. And so we're starting to put a couple campaigns together. We're attacking neighborhoods that have bad stucco. We're throwing an inspector in the deal. We can bring an inspector company come through. They can inspect. We can have it repaired. We have a financial piece involved in it. So I'm trying to tie my background together in a couple of different avenues. And I think this is a really strong one here.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the participation. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Appreciate it. All right, next up in the queue is our friend Darcy, phone number ending in 7653. You're up next, Darcy.
Hey, I have a question. I had a lady yesterday. She has 6 siblings. She's dealing with trying to get the property sold. I guess it's a dump, and it has mold and so on and so forth. But the 5 sisters are wanting to sell, but the 6th one doesn't. She doesn't want to sell, but she's mental. And I asked her if she had dementia, and she said no, it's worse than that. And you know, what do they do? Do they have to go to court again for this to get?
Questions. Is there a will?
The probate's over.
Is there a
You
will?
know, the probate's over.
So
I don't
holds
know.
title to the
I don't
property?
know. Probably. I'm
Who
guessing
holds-
there was if there's 6 sisters that want get a piece of the pie, right?
Okay, fair enough. Probate's over. Who holds title to the property?
The parents.
Then probate's not over.
Well, she told me it was
Probate,
over.
for probate to close, they had to transfer title to somebody, and that's either done according to the will or according to state law.
Okay, now the parents are in New York. So I initially called the parents. The lady
the
said
parents are
her
the deceased.
husband will talk to me when he feels better, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, one of the daughters called me, and her name was Sandy. And she said that Sandy lives here, but she said they can't get the 6th sister to sign off on it. And
Who owned the house and passed away? Was it one of the siblings?
It was her grandfather, the mother, the lady I spoke to's father.
Okay, so it transferred from grandfather through probate to parents. Parents are both living?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and
they're
then
both
the parents,
living.
So the parents hold title,
But
as far as you know.
But I guess the daughters, you know, the grandkids or whatever, they have to all sign off on it too. And she said they can't.
Because there was
I guess
a will
the mental one is still living in the house, and she changed all the locks so nobody could get into the house.
So here's what it sounds like to me. Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
It sounds like that there was a will, and the will said that the house will pass from grandparent to parent.
Right.
But if the house is sold, then the grandchildren were brought in. If this were going off of state law, it would be done. The parents could do whatever they want with the house. If the grandchildren have a stake in that to me, that means that there must have been a will that referenced the grandchildren and what they were due, and potentially even instructed the administrator to sell the home. Now, there may have been an exception made there where the judge allowed them to do it outside of probate, but you've got a few questions to answer, because if the grandparent's death was intestate, meaning there was no will, then state law is what the estate would have been settled on, and in that case, if title is held by the parents of the 6 siblings, then they can do whatever they wish with the property. If there wasn't a will saying specifically this is what needs to happen with the property, then state law says it goes from this person to this heir. Now, if the parents were dead, then it would flow down to the 6 siblings, and then you would have to get a release from the one who's not wanting to sell. But you may not even need to do that. So do you have contact with the parents?
Well, I called her yesterday. I called them yesterday, but she said it was up to the husband, who the husband was there, but she would have the husband call me back. I said, okay, fine. And then in the meantime, her daughter called me, and she said, and I told her I was a realtor. I noticed they had a property in Palm Coast and blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, all 6 of us, we have 6. I go, is there anybody else involved in this? And she said, yeah, there's six grandkids. So out of all of them, then, one of them doesn't want to sell. And the one
Chad,
that
I'm just, Darcy, excuse me, I'm just guessing, but it sounds like if they think that all 6 of them have to agree, that it kind of sounds like there was a will that gave them all some share in the property, the parents and the kids.
Yeah,
and in that case.
So Darcy,
here's
just in the interest of moving forward, because there's so many unknowns here, I'd like you to do a few things. One, go pull the tax card on the property and find out who's on title. If it's
Okay.
just the parents of the the children of the deceased, then only they need to be talking. Oh, you only need to be talking to them. Now, once the house is sold, it's up to them what they do with the money. The other thing I want you to do is find a resource in your local area that helps mentally challenged people find suitable housing. In my area, there's a nonprofit called Blue Ridge Behavioral Health Care, and they connect mentally challenged people with HUD vouchers, with HUD money, and they have long-term housing buildings. Like, it's not like they will get like an individual single-family home, but they'll buy an entire apartment building of typically studios and one-bedrooms, and these tenants stay for like their entire life once they're in there. But HUD actually will issue vouchers for the full amount of the rent. So you're going to have to address that solution, because that person's probably not going to change their mind on their own. But if you can show them how they can move out of a crusty, old, moldy, crumbling house into a nice new apartment with people similar to them, and present that as, and you need to probably do this by, like, you should ask the family if what the situation is, but you should build rapport with that person, and you should present this as a great life improvement to them. And then they should be willing to move out of the house so everyone else can get their wishes. But I would suggest you be proactive, go find a solution for them, and to say, here's what I think is, based on what I know, this is what I believe is you're the best service that I can give to you. So we're going to do X with the house, and then, what's her name is going to move into this facility, and it's all paid for by the government because of her condition. And that's going to impress them, that you're willing to step up and bring a solution, because it sounds like they haven't been looking for their own solution. And if they all want to sell, you've got to figure out how to take care of her and not end up with a homeless, mentally challenged sibling. So look at your tax card and see who you need to be talking to, and then go find a resource to find that person suitable housing, and then reach out to whoever it is you should be talking to and say, here's the strategy I think will work for you guys. When can we meet to discuss this?
Well, see, the owners or the reps are in New York, and they're back in New York, and Sandy,
well,
the daughter, is here. But I emailed. I thought she'd have to go to talk to an attorney. I didn't know. I says, well, are you talking with your attorney? And she said she was planning on doing that to see how they can get her out of the house. I don't know what avenue to take on that. And I emailed.
Well, so what I find is, taking the legal route. I mean, legally, they need to file for an unlawful detainer and prove that person doesn't have a lease and isn't paying rent. They're there as a holdover tenant. And then you need to, you issue a judgment, get the unlawful detainer, and then send the sheriff over there to get her ass out. But if you do that, if you go that route, then you could have played a part in making somebody homeless. And I think there's a much better way to deal with that. If you can get the same end result, getting the person out of the house, by doing it in a very positive way, by connecting them with the appropriate social service channel that knows how to deal with the situation. And I'm not going to pretend I know. But I do have experience with it, and I have helped both mentally challenged and elderly people in this exact scenario. Like, I've found them a positive solution, which motivated them to give me the outcome I wanted. Right. And I think that's your best approach. Like, yes, you can hire an attorney and kick her out on her ass in 6 months or so, but is that the right thing to do? Probably not.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't. I was kind of like, I don't know. I guess talking to an attorney would be the first way to go with this. I didn't know. I don't know the law as far as somebody mental not, wanting to move locks everybody out of the house. I don't know. I don't even know why she's mental. Like she said, no, it's worse than dementia. So I don't know what the mental capacity is with her. I know nothing.
You're hearing keep in mind, you're hearing one side of the story, and you don't know the history of these siblings.
Right.
She may have just had a falling out, and they could be exaggerating her condition. So again, everything we've talked about, I would say you have 3 steps. Go find out who's on title to know who you should be talking to. Go find a service that can help somebody that in the state you think she's in, and then reach out to that whoever's on title as a decision maker and start the discussion, even if that's a phone appointment. Say, you know, guys, listen, based on what I know, I've come up with some I've, you know, proactively looked for some resources. I do want to talk to you about that, but I have some questions. I don't quite understand what's happening here. So let's back up until your parents' death. Tell me about how that probate went. Was there a will? You know, at what point was the house transferred? And you'll see this when you look at the tax card. You'll be able to see the last transfer. And what you might find is it was just like a quick claim deed or an intra-family transfer with a $0 amount from grandparents to parents. But the big question is, did the grandparents have a will? And if they did, and that will said that all 6 siblings get an equal share, then you have to deal with this. You know, she has a say in this, and her living in the home is, you know, it's even more of a problem. Like, she's living in the home. Well, I won't say it's more of a problem that way, because you could show her a way where you can give her suitable housing, and she gets a check at the end of that. So she gets a better place to live and some cash. And that can be enough to motivate most people to move out.
Sure. And Darcy, in the meantime, if something happens between calls and you need help, you know, offline, just reach out to us, you know, with more specific if you need help. So sounds like you got something to do for the next week to keep you busy, but good questions. It's an unusual situation, but it does happen. Next up is phone number ending in 7319. You're up next.
Hello, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just had a quick question. I just recently subscribed to the LEAD program, and actually pretty excited about it. But at the point where I'm still going to make a decision to automate everything.
Sir, are you on a speakerphone or something? Could you pick up? You're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. We've got an echo.
Can you hear me now?
Getting a little close. Yeah, much better. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just curious to find out if, because I know Chad had a ROI calculator on the leads, but I don't think it was referring to if the scenario to opt in on all of the services that you guys offer. So I was wondering if you guys have like a case where somebody did just opt in on all the services. Because I don't know if you were to do the IFA service and just have them call on all the leads and even on the follow-ups, I know the cost on that would be staggered. And so I was just kind of curious if you guys have a case scenario that for somebody that
Sure.
has.
We do have case studies, and I'm really working hard to try to get to chase people. One of the unfortunate things is when people start and become really successful, they're incredibly hard to get to come back to these phone calls and to even track down to get a video testimonial. We have 9 people on deck that I can't wait for you guys to hear their story. I doubt any of them are on this call, but they're in queue for video testimonials. So I will have that coming, fingers crossed, over the next 90 days. I think we can get all 9 done. I also have remade the probate ROI calculator, so it now includes lead follow, ISA services. I made quite a few changes, and I had someone error check it, and I just haven't gotten back to the ticket to go back and look at their feedback. So I'll try to get that posted in the next day. Before the end of the week, I'll try to get the new probate ROI calculator posted on our blog. Excuse me, and I'll also post it in our Facebook group. So keep an eye on the blog in the next couple of days, and I'll get that project finished up.
All right, cool. Thank you.
And Chad, it occurs to me as we're adding products all the time and services, and you may have already done this, but you might want to just put an other column in there for future products so you don't have, to. Oh, okay. I knew you'd be one step ahead of me. All right, great. All right, well, we have 2 more in the queue. We got about 15 minutes left. We probably do have time for 1 or 2 more people if you want to jump in. Just hit *6 and then hit 1. Next up is phone number ending in 2686. You're up next.
Hey guys, it's Kevin. Got a question regarding investors. So by the time we get our leads, by the time we get them mailed, by the time we call, I'm going to say that's minimum 2 weeks, right? So we talk to people, and like Chad has said in the past, you got kind of two flavors of people. One that wants to sell right now, they're ready right now, and they just looking for an investor basically, and then the ones that have to incubate. So my question's on the ones really about the investors. Have you guys, because they're really beating us out bad, and they're already like under contract with the executors and such. So have you guys heard any stories about what are they doing? Obviously they're not mailers, they're just cold calling and going after it.
What market are you in, Kevin?
We're in the Texas DFW area.
Yeah.
Very, very competitive. Extremely competitive.
When most people are getting there before anyone, it's because they literally are sending an assistant to the courthouse each day. And Texas is one of those markets where guys who figured out the loophole to foreclosure, like I'm sure you're aware, NOD data is available 21 days before it shows up anywhere else. Like before Realty Track has it, it's available in the Texas courthouse, but very few people know that. So the investors who have become savvy to that and they do their own research, they're probably just grabbing probate data while they're in the courthouse, and then they're having their assistant skip trace and finding phone numbers. I actually just yesterday, and this was in, I'm trying to remember which market this was in. First time I'd heard this, I think this was Southern California. So I actually heard there was an investor that they've gotten savvy enough. They actually looked at where a death occurred, but a probate was not filed. They did that research. They did enough data analysis to find those opportunities, and then they went and found out. They skip traced the deceased to find relatives, and they pulled one of the relatives' name, address, phone number, and went and filed probate and opened probate for the family. Then they reached out to the PR and made them a $65,000 cash offer. And that's the first time I've ever heard of that. But wow. People, they're going that far. Like they're digging in to see what has not been what needs to be retroactively probated because it never was. And they're filing probate without the family knowing and then contacting the family with offers. Now, I don't know the legality of that. We're looking into it, but that's pretty savvy. So yeah. Investors are, people are hungry for deals right now. So they're doing things that, for us, for a lot of the folks on this call, it just wouldn't be sustainable because you're hiring a full-time person just to, run to the courthouse every day, skip trace, get these calls out, do the research. And it's hard to compete with them at scale. So the reality is, though, most of the people that are going to sell at a 30 to 40% discount, they're going to sell it quick, and it's probably, a couple of percent of each list are going to be, looking for a solution in the first week. So I would say that if you don't want to get into the complexities like I think that's, these people are doing, just focus on the ones you can help, the mid and longer term business, and just know that, those people have a different approach than you do, and they get theirs, and there's plenty left for, to support your business.
Yeah, Chad, I was going to add to that. We also find, Kevin, in markets where we do hear from, it's not common, but in markets where the people tell us like a third of them are already sold by the time the probate's filed, often the investors are working death certificates and obituaries. So they're actually working the notice of death and skip tracing, and they're contacting the people before the probate's filed, and by the time the probate's filed, they've got a contract on it. And honestly, we just sort of chose not to go there. I think you alienate as many people as deals you attract. You know what I mean? It's a little bit, in our view, it's a little bit predatory, and we just didn't want to go there. But even in those markets where that's the most prevalent, the majority of them are still available by the time the probate is filed, because that kind of a predatory approach really either turns people off or it just isn't effective, and they need those few months to kind of process the grief before they're ready to make a decision. So there's still a pony in there somewhere, I guess, is what we're both saying. There still should be deals left at the end for you, even if you have a really aggressive investor market.
Yeah, it was just frustrating talking to a lady the other day about that, where she had already signed, and then she admitted when we got on the phone with her, she didn't really understand what she was doing, you know?
Yeah.
And she goes, man, if I would have just seen your letter, you know, before, and then we talked to her later, and she wouldn't divulge what she signed the purchase price. And it's just frustrating because it was a nice house. I mean, it's a very nice house and good condition and everything. So we knew we could have, you know, put it out on MLS and gotten her tens and thousands of dollars more.
Sure, sure.
You know, it's just frustrating to hear is all. And they're just beating us to it. They're just cold calling them. Or not cold calling them.
So Kevin, I will point back to the very beginning of this call. Get upstream of them. So everything we talked about with the first caller, like, you know, being in the nursing homes and the attorney's office and the registered investment advisors, all these people that are going to have contact with them before the death occurs, get upstream and provide real value, and you'll be able to be in front of them, even though they're doing all this complex research and have a really complex campaign. You can build it organically. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might take you a couple of months to knock a dent in what they're doing. But if you're actually working with people while those folks are still alive and providing solutions and value to the family, then you'll be the only one they're talking to when the death occurs. So if you really want to get upstream, that's what I would focus on.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, sir. Anything else we can help you with?
No, that's it. Appreciate it.
All right, awesome. We only have this unusual, guys. Usually we're struggling to get done on time. We have one more person in the queue. We do have time for one or two more. Hit *6 and then hit 1. Otherwise, I'll close it out in a few minutes. And Rebecca, 5842, you might be our last up this week, so take your time. Oh, we have one more in there. But you're up next, 5842.
Hi, this is Becky. How you doing, Chad? How you doing?
Hey. Hey, Becky. Great, Becky.
I've been driving Chad crazy with my emails, but I'll ask you some questions. First of all, not being complaining, I'm probably doing something wrong, but seems that the script is not working for me, and I tried everything. I have 100 leads, and I called them. Basically, I don't know. I feel like it's not working for me. So I went back to my real estate investment question. I feel like I got more ahead because as soon as I said, do you have any property for sale, and they would, you know, my answer would be yes and no instead of going through the whole probate thing, which I wouldn't mind doing it, but it seems like I get hung up. Even when I shorten it, I got hung up. So that's my first thing I want to say. I have like a couple of questions. So tell me what I could stuff. So anyway, so the other thing is like basically called all my leads, sent letters and everything, and I was just wondering, the one that says I'm not interested, do you keep mailing to them, or should I remove them, or should you text them? I was thinking maybe even email them, but I was hoping maybe you have email provided maybe in the future. So that's something that maybe you consider. And what else? Go ahead.
Did you just have two questions, or did you have another one?
And the other thing is, then there's one that's, unable to connect. I get a lot of unable to connect to the phone numbers that are not correct, or they have no phone numbers. And I actually one or two was already listed, which was a surprise. Could be their family and everything. And then I got like one or two says not now. So I was wondering like how often would I maybe said in the course I can remember how often you would follow up with these people, not to be annoying when they say not now. And one lead was very good. He says, "Oh, we really want to sell, but I'm in Florida. My brother's in New Jersey, and so I was let me check with my brother. I'll let you know." I said, "Well, give me a number." And the property address is not there. The property is near me, where the two addresses is Florida, where she lives. So I don't even have the property address, but she sounded like she was interested. So anyway, these are all the questions I have for you.
All right, we'll start at the beginning. So I did respond. Well, I typed my reply to your email, and I saw it in drafts this morning, and I haven't sent it. So I was to your switching your script is the email I gave you a long reply to. So just understand the reason we go the reason we say what we say and we teach what we teach is because it really differentiates you from any competition. And you can, if it's not working for you and you've tried different variations, I mean, you can go back to your investor script, what's tried and true. Just understand you're going to chase off pretty much all the brokerage business with that pitch, because they're going to give you the reputation, whatever they think a real estate investor does, which is usually not a good, it's got a pretty negative connotation to it for most folks. You're going to have that's going to be your label. So just know that you're going to scrub out a lot of opportunities to send referrals to your listing partner, and get into deeper conversations where you can find more ways to help them and be creative. So the framework of the conversation we teach is to help you focus on people and situations so you can gather facts before you talk about real estate. Because the more you know about their situation, the more ways you have to build rapport and provide value to them. Then when you bring real estate up, it's a whole different conversation. If that just simply doesn't work for you and your investor script does, go for it. Just know that you're pretty much only going to be getting those, highly motivated sellers, and you might be washing out the rest. That's what my advice was in the email.
All right. We got 3 more in the queue. Next up is...
Questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Answer the other 4. I cut you off short. Sorry. Go ahead.
So as far as what you do with people when they're not interested, the way our CRM is designed, if you go into the option status tab, which I believe is the third one to the right, when you're in the lead view and someone says, I'm not interested, don't call me. If you click, there's exclude from, and we have a box for phone, mail, or email. And you can exclude them from mail. That cuts down the cost of your campaign. So the next round, especially for you guys that are doing mail and ISA calls, we don't charge you up front for your mail and calls. We charge you only for the people who are not opted out at the time we're executing the campaign. So be sure you're using that option status tab and opting them out when they're not interested. So you should use the rating field to rate them, lost. If you never going to talk to them again, rate them lost, and then opt them out of mail and phone calls. That way your campaign cost will come down, and you'll have, you'll save time in your prospecting. You also mentioned email. We've kind of made a choice not to give you to provide email addresses, because the vast majority of resources out there provide junk email. So you'll run them through a test, like run them. You test. We've tested several, and what we find is there may be 20-30% deliverable addresses after you scrub them through like a honeypot scrub, and the amount of effort it takes to set up a good, effective email campaign, it's just you're probably losing money, because you have to set up the platform, set up your automation, manage your lists every month, do the import export, or have a CRM that does that for you. And for me, I can the amount of time it would take you. I'll sum it up by saying if you're already really good at email marketing can be really good for you. If it's important to you, there's one resource and only one that I recommend. It's LexisNexis has a product, a one-to-one skip trace product. It's $400 a month on a 24-month commitment. So if you're just using it for probate, it might not make sense for you. But if you're running a lot of lists and you have VAs that can help you, because the reason I suggest it, they're licensing their data directly from the internet, the email providers. So they're getting their email addresses direct from Google, Yahoo, Hotmail. So, and they're double, they do a double match validation. So if this is the email, can we connect it to 2 other data points, like first name, last name, and mailing address, or first name, last name, and spouse name, so whatever it is. So they have a very good system for getting good emails, but the amount of time you're going to put into it, probably not worth it. we chose to do digital marketing instead of email marketing for you guys because we can find an 86%, on average, we're matching 86% of the PRs inside of Facebook. And then we're geofencing the deceased last known address and the PR mailing address. So we're pretty much getting 100% of the family, like including the kids and the friends that are over for a dinner party. And we're getting daily impressions anywhere from 5 to 25 times a day they're seeing our ads. So we can accomplish a lot more through digital marketing with a lot less money and time than we would with email marketing. So if you're looking for other things, that might be something to layer in. And it's people seeing your stuff 25 times a day is going to make them, they're going to know who you are when they hear you on the phone. So that's 3. There were 2 more. What did I miss, Becky?
I think we lost her. I think she dropped out of the queue
Okay.
a couple minutes ago. So go. Can you remember or no?
Talked about email? No. Becky, if you want to call, if you want to call in today, call in and talk to Rachel, and she'll connect us.
All right. Excellent. Next up is phone number ending in 5770. You're up next.
Hey there, it's Juanita Simpkins, and Chad, you just answered my question, so I don't need to ask the question.
Well, that was quick. Next up is phone number ending in 1536. You're up next. Are you there? 1536.
Yes,
Oh, go ahead. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I think I'm walking on somebody else.
No, you're good. 644-1536.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was afraid I was walking on somebody else. This is David Bailey. I'm a recent subscriber. Just got my first batch of leads. I've got a 2-part question. I got 111 leads for Cobb County, Metro Atlanta, and out of those 111 leads, I found 11 attorneys that had more than one case. So I'm looking at that thinking, yeah, these guys look like the ones I want to talk to, and yet I'm still calling PRs. The question I have is whether or not to focus more on the attorneys and or the other centers of influence that you mentioned earlier in the call. And then the second part of that question is about phone numbers and the reluctance of people to answer phones versus texting and that sort of thing.
Okay. So your first question, you should be doing all that. I know it's tempting, especially hearing some of the stories. What we teach is kind of 2-prong. So you have a marketing prong and a referral network prong. And if you have the bandwidth, you should be doing them both, in parallel. So you definitely want to get your letters out and get your phone calls made as quickly as possible, because that's the marketing is the short term. That's how you can make money in the next 30, 60 days. The referral network is something that might take you 90 days to get to where you're feeling those referrals coming in and cashing checks. So it's a longer cycle, but it's good to start yesterday, right? So I would recommend what I usually suggest is, in Probate Mastery, we talk a lot about this and kind of building out your referral network and how do you systematize that. Midweek, midday is about the best shot you have of catching attorneys in their office and all these other professionals. So if you block out just the same way you're blocking out your calls, and this is different for everybody, but you can choose 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever it is, and just put that on the calendar as a recurring event. So every Wednesday from 1 to 4, you're building your referral network. And 1 week is attorneys, the next is nursing homes, the next is social workers. You can lay out your campaign however you want, but get in your truck and go see these people face to face. That's what is really effective and makes a big impression, and you get referrals almost immediately from a lot of these folks. Continue to do your marketing, do what you're doing. Don't feel like you have to do one or the other. I would recommend finding a way to do both at the same time. And your short-term money is going to come from your marketing. You'll get deals in the next month or so. But you'll be surprised, 2, 3, 4 months from now at all the referrals rolling in from all different directions from all these other people. And don't be surprised too if you start getting bankruptcy listings, divorce listings, because once these attorneys, especially the ones that are specializing in things like this, once they find you as a resource and they realize you have the capacity to deal with, provide a higher level of service and deal with especially the complicated deals, they're going to be putting them all on your desk. And I don't know if Roger Lisi's on this call, but he's in that position. Like he now testifies in court as a real estate expert because his attorney's so impressed at how he handled probate and then how he handled his divorce referrals. Now he's got him on the stand testifying.
Wow.
So there's a lot of opportunity.
I'd love to hear from that guy.
Yeah, Roger, if you're on here, step up. He's usually here. You can also, his name is Roger Lisi, L-E-C-Y, and he's a great ambassador of ours. He's been with us for a long time, and he's extremely helpful to all of our subscribers. So tag him on Facebook in our All the Leads Mastermind group, and I'm sure he would be happy to set up a call and talk with you about his approach. And then your second question was it about phone numbers?
Well, it was about texting versus the reluctance of people to answer phones just in general, the whole world these days.
Right. So statistically, 95% of texts get opened, and there's about a 50% response rate. But there's also a 99.9% chance you broke the law sending that text. So you need to familiarize yourself with TCPA and the laws surrounding text marketing, because the way the law is written, you have to have express written consent in order to send that, even one text message. And a lot of people are taking that risk, but the FCC is getting so many consumer complaints on robo-dials and auto texting that there's a lot of attention pointed in that direction now. So just make sure you be aware of your risk before you start doing that. If you in All the Leads Mastermind, our Facebook group, if you use the search bar and put in text marketing, there's a couple of threads in there where we've had this discussion over the last couple of years, and I've put some links in there to the laws, and people chime in and say, well, here's what I'm doing and here are my results. And it's really tempting because people, you can sit down in 30 seconds, you can get 5 hot leads on the line with you. But if you text the wrong person that happens to know that attorney that's good at filing class action lawsuits, and they pull you into that, it's probably not worth it. So just make sure you understand what you're doing before you start that.
Yep, good advice.
All right. Well, we have one last person in the queue. Obviously, we're going to go a little bit over time this week. We appreciate everybody's patience. Last up is phone number ending in 8797. You're up last.
Hey, this is Rick. I was curious about a couple of things. One is the do not call in red that I'm seeing on the files now. Does that only apply to the attorney? Because it seems like it's in the attorney section only, and I only saw it on a couple of my files, or should I just treat that whole file as a do not call? And the second question is the lead follow. We opted out of the lead follow because we asked a few times for info on it and results or whatever, and we never did get it. So we kind of opted out, kind of waiting to see if things got better as far as sending out reports. And will those, when it gets better, is the year-long, because that's for a year of past leads, from what I understand. How long does that apply as far as opting back in? So that's pretty much it.
Okay. So congrats, you're the first person to notice the DNC validation. We haven't officially announced that yet. We're just finishing up building it. So what that is, it's scrubbing against 3 directories: the National Do Not Call Registry, all 50 state Do Not Call registries, and the National Known Litigant database. So we are running every number that we run through our call center is validated, so we reduce our liability. But now we've just started running all of the numbers. We're pushing that through to your leads too. So if anyone who's listening, you'll see on every lead at the bottom it says DNC equals Do Not Call Registry. But only the numbers that have that, only when that is directly on the same line as a phone number is it actually flagged. And the reason you're only seeing it in the attorney column is because only the attorneys in your market have been adding their number to DNC. if you go through enough leads, you'll eventually see some that are on, the PR numbers that will be on DNC, or they're on one of those 3 directories. We push the numbers through to you because, we understand that most real estate agents and especially investors, they're not, they're comfortable with that risk. And we have talked to attorneys whose opinion is, this is a personal representative acting in a limited public capacity for this period of time. We've never had problems with it. It's just another thing in light of the attention that DNC and TCPA is getting from the FCC. Geez, can I work another acronym in that sentence? But in light of all that attention, we are trying to proactively limit your liability as well as our own. So you can make a choice whether you want to call the DNC number. We provide it to you. We're saying, hey, you need to know this is on one of these 3 directories, and you can make your choice. I think, that's, you've certainly called a number on the DNC list before, unless you've gone through the complicated process of doing this validation. So you choose, your own risk level. And then on lead follow, so I missed your specific question was about the campaign length. So it sounds like you understand the audience. So we're going back 12 months, as far as 12 months, in order to make your audience as large as we can. Because the larger your audience is, the cheaper the less expensive your results are. And the more likely we are to find those people who haven't sold, 6, 8, 12 months ago that we're not actively mailing or calling. So we're going to take 12 months and push that into your audience. And we're getting about 86% of those people in the audience. And then we'll run ads to them for 30 days. So when you set up a campaign, just like when you set up a letter, you'll say, hey, I want to send a letter, 3 letters, space them out over 30 days. Letter 1 is kind of day 1 through day 30. It's the same thing with lead follow. If you set up a lead follow campaign, we're paying for it in 30-day increments. Yeah. So if you say I want to market, so we're running ads to all 12 months of lists, but only for the next 30 days, and then you need to renew your order, or if you're on autopilot, we'll go ahead and renew it. Now, when you're on autopilot, on the next month, we essentially go to the back of the line and cut off the 13th month, and then you have the most recent 12. So you always, if you're running a lead follow campaign in perpetuity, you always have the most recent 12 months in your audience.
Okay. And we opted out of that because we had it for a little while, briefly, but we weren't getting the reports, so we decided to cancel that for the time being. But when do you think you'll be at the point where we'll get regular reports, and then we'll probably opt back in?
We're there now. We have a dashboard that you can actually log into, and I think it updates every 4 hours. So, if you look at it at noon and then you look at it again at 4:30, you're going to see different numbers. So it's waking up every 4 hours and refreshing your individual data. So we do have that now, and it's as part of your setup. Cindy will help you understand how to get that. And we're also sending reports at least once a week. I know we're sending. There's still some manual reporting being done. So we're sending reports on Monday.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely once a week. We're trying to do it only once a week so that it isn't confusing, and it's literally once a week for everything that happened in the last 7 days.
Okay, well, you guys must have just started that because we opted out like last week or something. It was like 7 to 10 days ago when we had finally just said, we'll wait for you guys
that's correct.
to catch the system. But now it sounds like you're on top of it. Okay. All right. Yeah, as far as that do not call on the attorneys, I thought it was interesting that the attorneys had do not call for their business.
I did too. So when we started looking through these, I was shocked at how many attorneys are on DNC.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it either.
Yeah. And
Chad, I can tell you why.
But
go ahead. I'm just going to chime in. The only reason that they're there, we went back and did some research on pulling it and ran it through, and a lot of it is that because of the methodology that we're using to go get phone numbers, our methodology is so good that we're actually pulling if it's not coming from the docket on that, we're actually pulling their cell phone. And that's what's on DNC, not the attorney's office necessarily.
Gotcha.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So they're paying the price for putting themselves on that list. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot. That's it.
Well, no,
All
I think
right,
it's
great.
important. Whoa.
Go ahead, Tim.
I think it's important that you understand what Tim just said. So what Tim is saying is the reason that attorney is showing, the most likely reason that an attorney shows a DNC is because they didn't provide their office phone number on the docket. So because of that, we go out with our system and we find a phone number for John Doe ESQ. We find his phone number, but the number we found was his cell phone number, and it's flagged. So I want to make sure you understand that, because you can go to John Doe ESQ on findlaw.com and find his office number and safely call that. Like, so if your attorneys are flagged as DNC, don't think that you can't contact that person. It may just be that we pulled their personal cell phone and that's on DNC, but go find their Google business listing or go to findlaw.com and call their public office phone number. So don't feel like it means you can't call them. Just use a different number.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Excellent call, guys. One of our longest in a long time, and almost everybody stayed on till the end. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks for the great participation. I want to end this like I always do. I want to challenge you to take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.